So as Karen said, my name is Cassandra Atkin Plunk. I am an assistant professor and the graduate coordinator in the School of Criminology and Criminal Justice within the College for Design and Social Inquiry. And so I was told that, it's on, yeah. So I was told that this is very informal, and so I put just some pictures, informal pictures, not my faculty headshot, on the screen for you to see. To give you a little bit about myself, my favorite color is black. And that's where I'm going to end there, okay? No, so I am born and raised in Texas. Yes, and if you are from Texas or know anyone from Texas, you know that we love to be from Texas. So my first time moving out of the state was to move to Florida and come and teach here at FAU. So I was born and raised in Texas, lived there for 28 years, went to school at Sam Houston State University, which is in Huntsville, Texas, about an hour north of the Houston area. And I did all of my degrees there, so my bachelor's, master's, and Ph.D., all in criminal justice at Sam Houston State University. I also minored in chemistry during my undergrad because I wasn't sure where I wanted to go, whether I wanted to be a chemist and do, analyses of chemicals or crime scenes or anything like that, or if I wanted to go the criminal justice route. I didn't want to be in a lab all day. I learned that very quickly, and so here we are. Let's see, a little bit about me. This is the love of my life. Her name is Shelby Cobra Atkin Plunk. That is her full name. I adopted her 7.5 years ago, and she literally is the love of my life. And then I also have a husband. He knows his place in the hierarchy of our house. And so his name is Steven. He's not, he's a great guy, all right, but I love my dog. So that's a little bit about me. And yes, I am a human too, although I am, a professor here and a researcher. So my research interest broadly spans criminal justice reform. All right, and I particularly focus within the area of corrections. So when we talk about corrections, we're talking about prisons, jails, probation, parole, anybody who has been arrested for a crime, convicted of a crime, and then sentenced. All right, and so my area is on that back end of the criminal justice system. And then within corrections, my nitty-gritty area is within the reentry and reintegration of individuals when they come back to the community from incarceration, whether that's from incarceration at the federal level, at the state level from Florida Department of Corrections, or even from the local level at the Palm Beach County Jail. So broadly speaking, I like to figure out how can we as a community make the most for the individuals who are coming back to our community. Because 95% of people who are incarcerated in our prisons are going to come back. All right, it is not a lock them up and they're staying there forever. They are coming back to our communities. They are going to get gas at where we get gas. They are going to live next to where we are going to live. And so the lock them up and throw away the key mentality that we have lived by for the past 20, 40 years, we know does not work. And so what can we do to help better individuals while they're incarcerated and then also when they come back? Because when they come back, even if they've been gone for 6 months, there's major disruptions within their lives. And getting a stable footing back into the community is incredibly difficult, even with just a 6 months lapse. Okay, nevertheless, 10 or 20 years, all right? So I really work very closely with Palm Beach County and with the community partners in Palm Beach County. And so I'm going to talk about a few different projects that I'm currently working on. They're all funded projects through various county entities. So I currently work with the Palm Beach County Reentry Services Department on a grant-funded project, which I'm going to highlight most of my time here. I'm also working with the Palm Beach County Criminal Justice Commission, and I'm happy to talk to you about what that commission entails. But basically it was set by county ordinance back in the late 1980s, and there's 33 criminal justice high up criminal justice people who sit on this commission, in addition to 11 individuals from the Economic Council of Palm Beach County. And we're talking the state attorney for Palm Beach County, the public defender for Palm Beach County, the West Palm Beach police chief, the circuit administrator for the Department of Corrections, the special agent in charge of the ATF, DEA, FBI. So we're talking high-level people sit on this criminal justice commission with the idea of, if everybody comes together and we collaborate instead of working in our little silos, we can help make Palm Beach County safer, whether it's law enforcement initiatives, court-based initiatives, or correctional-based initiatives. And then I'm also working closely with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office on another separate grant-funded opportunity, which I can discuss in detail with you. So regarding the reentry services, so this project, we're in year 2 of 3 of this project, and this is a randomized control trial, which getting service providers in the community to agree to do an RCT is unheard of, okay? If you understand randomization and putting treatment in people in treatment groups and people in control groups and telling service providers you can't treat people, that it goes against all of their core being, okay? They still get to treat people, and we got IRB approval, so we're good there. All right, so with this program, what this program is, it's called a transitional job program. And so individuals who are coming back to Palm Beach County from incarceration and the Department of Corrections or in the local county jail, they are randomized, if they agree to volunteer for this program, into either the treatment group or the control group. The treatment group then is, if they are selected for the treatment group, they are rapidly placed into transitional jobs. And a transitional job is a job that is subsidized, so our grant funding pays for their salary. They learn a trade or a skill. They are also working with one of our community partners who works with the returning population, which, as you can imagine, might be a difficult population to work with over time because they have a multitude of issues that they encounter, right? Substance abuse issues, mental health issues, homelessness, lack of employment, family issues, just transportation issues, clothing, so there's a whole host of factors that can hinder somebody successfully reintegrating into our community. And so this transitional job program, it gets them rapidly placed into subsidized employment within one of our 3 community service providers. They learn a skill. They also get soft skills, okay? So there are various employment workshops that are offered to them. They also take cognitive behavioral therapy courses, okay? And so that's basically a type of therapy where we try to reframe how somebody thinks, okay? So maybe if they've been taught how to think one way and maybe it's not necessarily the most pro-social way of thinking or going about their life, it's kind of reframing their mindset into more of a pro-social attitude. So they get So this grant, we are serving 240 total, 120 in the treatment group and 120 in the control group. We have 3 service providers that are employing the individuals, and so it's 40 for each service provider. Okay, thank you, great question. And so they're going into these programs, they're getting transitional employment or transitional jobs, they're also getting their cognitive behavioral therapy, and with the hopes that this leads to unsubsidized long-term employment and also reduced recidivism. So recidivism meaning they recommit a crime, they go back to jail, they get rearrested, they go back to prison. We don't want that to happen. We want them to be successful. And throughout this, they're also receiving case management services. And one of the great things about the transitional job program is if somebody is late to work, or they don't show up to work, or they mess up on the job, they're not going to be automatically fired, okay? As you might be in a different job, okay? Because these service providers, they work with this population, and so they understand the difficulties, and that we need to teach you, you have to call in if you're going to be late, or you have to call in if you're not going to show up, or you can't be high on the job, Okay, so it's all about teaching individuals those soft skills in addition to the construction trade. That's one of our trades. Another one is working in a warehouse and learning the operations of the warehouse. And then another one is a culinary-based program. So again, giving them skills that hopefully they can take with them once they successfully complete the program. Again, we're in phase 2, or year 2 of the 3-year project, so we're in full-on implementation. People are getting services, people are getting the treatment, and then we're going to be tracking them for at least a year afterwards to track, some longer-term outcomes, if not tracking them even longer than that. So that's kind of the project, one of the 4 projects that I'm really, that's going strong right now. I'd be happy to talk with you just briefly. I'm just going to mention the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office grant. They received a grant to develop a school and community violence prevention task force. So they applied for this funding not long after the Parkland shooting happened, with the idea of we need to form a task force within Palm Beach County for how can we prevent this from happening within our community. All right, and so that is identifying all of the stakeholders from law enforcement to mental health to behavioral health and getting everybody at the table. And this is in the very beginning planning stages, okay? So we're not in implementation yet. And identifying individuals who are potentially at risk of engaging in some sort of mass violent crime, hoping to identify them before it escalates to where they are an imminent threat. Maybe they're medium risk, moderate risk, and then if this happens, they lose their job, that might be the tipping point. Or their parent dies, that might be the tipping point, or they get kicked out of school, which might be the tipping point. And identifying these individuals early on in their process, getting them hooked up with services and not having individuals fall through the cracks, which is kind of what we see in a lot of these different scenarios that have taken place. So again, that one's in the planning stages, but very important. And my role in all of this is really to evaluate. So evaluate the process. How are these projects being put into place? And then the outcomes. So what happens on the outside? What are we seeing as a result of these projects being implemented within Palm Beach County? So I think that is kind of the overview. Oh, collaborations. That was the last thing we were asked to talk about. So how can I looking for collaborations? Frankly, I don't need any more work right now, okay? I have so much going on. However, I love talking to people, and Eric and I have already figured out we're going to collaborate in the future, and we just had a 2-minute conversation about what happens if a robot kills. Okay, so what happens if a robot kills? I never thought that engineering and criminal justice would hook up, but here we are, okay? We met 2 minutes ago and we're gonna collaborate. But there's so much overlap between criminal justice and the population that I do a lot of my research on with relation to psychology and psychiatry and social work, business, because we need people to employ individuals with a criminal record, education, nursing, medicine, robotics. I left that off, I'm sorry. So I would love to talk with you all in the future about any of my research, and I'll turn it over to Eric and then stick around for questions and answers